You're able to too?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. I'm just going to pause now. So feel free to type in the chat your name and where you're coming in from. It would be nice to see that. And again, we're just going to start in a few moments. Thank you so much for being here. Awesome. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Yeah, this has been a work in progress. We've been working on this for a year now since we decided to go into business together, and it's awesome to finally be here and live with you guys and also the replay viewers. So thank you for being here. Feel free to just get comfy, breathe in and out with your nose, and be present because there's going to be a lot of stuff we're going to be sharing today. And if you have your wonderful workbook in front of you, great. However, you won't really need it because we're going to go over things very chillax, and this will be an opportunity for you to read later because it has a lot of our tips and tools that you can read later. But I'll refer to it often, okay? So we've got, let's see here, Michelle from Washington State, Tiffany and Christopher is popping in from Asheville, North Carolina. So thank you so much for being here. Tia from Florida. Whoop, whoop. Exciting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Get hydrated. I actually have electrolytes in mine because it's been really hot here in Hawaii, and I get nervous and sweat. So I'm like, gotta drink more electrolytes. All right. So we are 5 past the hour. I think we're ready to go. And those
Awesome.
that decide to come in, I'll welcome them in. Other than that, thank you so much for being here. So a few housekeeping rules. We decided to do our webinar on the Zoom platform, not only so we can, interact with you afterwards during our Q&A, but also so that we can be here with you, kind of like we're inviting you into our couch on a Saturday morning here in Hawaii. And this is normally our day together where we get to spend time and just chillax. We actually kind of get challenged during this day because we're actually intimate with each other and facing each other. So we're going to talk about that too, to get into a place where we're feeling safe and secure with each other so we can have amazing Saturdays and the rest of our days. So know that there's a chat there. If you have questions or comments, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll also answer questions at the end of the webinar. Please make sure you're muted so that then it doesn't have any distractions for the webinar as well. And no, just be present. And Isaac's going to talk to you a little bit about that.
Thank you. Are we getting started now?
We are.
I fucking hate housekeeping, dude. I swear to God, it's like starting. I just love getting on these webinars when people just start dropping golden nuggets. So that's what I like to do. That's what I've been waiting for. That's why I'm here. Just to let you know a little bit about me and Candace. This will be unlike any class you've ever taken before. All I ask is that you just be curious about what it is we're talking about. You don't have to mentalize everything. You don't have to understand everything. In fact, sometimes I've noticed that can actually take away from an experience or hinder something. So just let yourself hear what's coming up. You don't have to agree with it or disagree with it. Just listen with consciousness and see what happens. More people are showing up here.
Thank you.
And this is the fun part too about webinars, as like people filter through and people filter in. A lot of people are going to be watching this on replay. I think these days more people watch it on replay. And so for the people that are here, that's going to be really fun. Because who knows, like maybe if you got a question towards the end, we'll bring some stuff up and we'll give you guys a healing right on the call. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, really. I have like my wife has a basic structure of what we're sharing with you guys, but I like to just kind of go and flow with it. So we're not gurus, okay? We're not here to teach you anything. Wait, what do you mean? You're not here to teach? This is a class. What do you mean you're not teaching me anything? What I do and what I have found in my experience, which works more beneficial for people, is to actually help guide them to their own truths by just kind of questioning certain things we might think we know or believe to be true. Okay. So just be curious about what that is and absorb what you can. You might not understand it all right now. I'm really going to dump the truck load on you. So don't try to understand everything. Just take it in as best you can. And one way that I like to do that is you just kind of sit up straight, or if you're going to sit back, that's fine too. You just try to sit in a position where you can be relaxed, and then breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Okay. And if it's more comfortable for you to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, you can do that too. Just simple, cyclical, easy breathing with your belly. You might feel some things come up. You might feel some feelings come up and some energies and some ticklies in your body. Like right now, I'm feeling a lot of what I would call in the past excitement or nervous energy. Really what it is just, I have this life force energy flowing through me that wants to express itself. It's coming out, and I'm just, it can be quite uncomfortable at times, because there's so much energy moving through. So just see what's going on in your own body. That's really what this is about. It's really about just sensing, and the more you're just kind of relaxing your nervous system and taking deep breaths every now and then and checking in with yourself, you're going to be able to sense what's going on. Okay. So I think that's it for my segment on that. Did you have anything to add?
Not at all. I think that's perfect. I think, if you've never met us before, we just want to introduce ourselves. So I'm Candace Fox.
Oh yeah, I'm Isaac.
Thank you so much for being here. And, we've been married since 2014, together since 2009. And, in the beginning, right, it felt like magical, perfect, synchronous. Everything was just flowing. And then we lived together.
Yeah, that's when I was in California and you were in Hawaii, by the way.
Yes. Then we began to live with each other. We were like more in each other's faces, in each other's lives, in each other's ideas. And we have noticed, like, we get into these bouts of being enemies. And it feels like I can't talk to him or say things or express myself or be in a place where I can actually feel loved and safe with him. So we've talked about it. And the reason why we're doing this webinar is because we were very unconscious back then. We only know what we knew based on the relationships we've had in the past and what we've seen with our own parents, right? And now we're in this like true relationship, and all of our shit is coming up. And we're like blaming each other, projecting onto each other, like, what the hell is happening? And what we didn't know how to do up until more recently is to take responsibility for ourselves. And so this webinar is really about learning how to take responsibility for yourself so that we can be the person that we want to be in the relationship, and therefore get what we want to get out of the relationship. And it's not easy. However, it doesn't have to be hard, right? It's all about being present to yourself. And we're going to talk all about that. So really excited that you're here. We're excited to share what we've learned through our relationship, because it truly has been a personal and spiritual growth, and it's only getting better. So really excited to have you here.
Awesome. Cool. What's
Yes.
on the list?
So first, we're going to talk about like who this is for and who this is not for. Now, this is important because, if you're listening to this and you're like, I have no idea what the hell they're saying, like their words they're using doesn't even resonate with who I am, then you might not be ready for this information. And that's okay, because if you are, you're someone that's ready to be conscious. You're not seeing your relationship as a perfect way of being. You're seeing how it's imperfectly perfect, and you're willing to work on it, right? That's who we want on this webinar, is people who are willing to take a look at themselves, and in turn, willing to look at their idea of a relationship. And when you look at the idea of your relationship, you'll see all the bullshit you put in place that keeps you from actually loving your partner, right? So this is not for you if you're not going to do any of that. If you're going to just get off of this and not even practice, like this is not for you. However, if you're ready to do something different and add a little twist into the relationship, this is definitely for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. You ready? Okay. So we're going to start off with our mission. And so, babe, he came up with this for us, and we want to share it with you because it's really powerful. And his voice is just so booming.
Why, thank you. Every relationship is a reflection of the one you have with yourself. At the center of your universe, there can only be you, creating and manifesting with power. All other relationships are peripheral in your world. Healthy relationships are created from this place of powerful self-love. So there's a lot to that, right? I don't know what a lot is, but I can dissect this. I can teach a whole 6-month class on this. Okay. So what does it mean when it says all other relationships are peripheral in your world, right? So whatever is here in you, in your universe, in your world, this is reflecting back to you. So it's a peripheral. So whatever's in here is reflecting back to you. So one of my favorite mentors used to say, life is a series of reflections of things you think you know and believe to be true. Okay. So in whatever relationship I'm in, that relationship therefore is most possibly reflecting back to me the things I think I know and believe to be true about myself. So whatever, and most of that is unconscious. Okay. And all unconscious is so there's conscious energy, which is what it always has been and always will be that. There is really no such thing as unconscious. The thing where we talk about unconscious is the conscious energy somewhere in our lives. We learned something that separated us from that conscious. So besides our infinite truth, we learned something that wasn't that infinite truth, usually in anger, fear, sadness, some sort of trauma. And then we made decisions about life, right? And these are the things we think we know and believe to be true, most of which are unconscious, covering up feelings that we don't want to feel. Okay. So as we uncover those parts of ourselves that are unconscious, a lot of times in an intimate relationship, who's the best person to really uncover that shit? The intimate relationship. So what happens is I was sitting in the past, I attempt not to like really use a lot of diagnosed words like PTSD and depression and things like that, because beyond that, there's other aspects that may be more true. But I'll use some words to help explain things. I'm just not that attached to the words themselves. Okay, so traumas, right? Complex trauma. So if you're somebody like me who suffered from complex trauma and PTSD, well, guess what? Walking around with that shit constantly on the surface is incredibly uncomfortable. So what I didn't understand is that is moving through my system so I can actually sit for a minute, acknowledge it, become aware of it, and it starts to move. That does work. That has happened. Okay. So my point is, if she's sitting here triggering the shit out of that all the time, I'm to the root paradigm of what I was believing. It was feeling like I was going to die. And so if she's my number one trigger and I'm constantly feeling like I'm going to die, well, I'm going to have to justify, defend, and protect myself. Right. So then she's going to become an enemy. And I didn't realize that's how I was perceiving her till maybe about 7 years ago. I said, oh shit, I'm looking at you like you're my enemy. And it just blew my mind. I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that. And so hence is born this webinar. So basically, the coolest part about this mission statement is, in the beginning, every relationship is a reflection of the one you have with yourself. So do you kind of see what I mean by that now? At the center of your universe, there can be only you, creating and manifesting with power. So what you think you know and believe to be true that is what we're creating with. So if there's an unconscious piece of ourselves we're not fully aware of yet, we all have it at one point or another in our lives. We're creating from that shit. So a good way to see if we're creating from some bullshit that we're unaware of is if there's something you want in your life and you don't have it, then there is something that you most likely are not seeing that is in direct conflict with what you say you want. So there's a part of yourself that doesn't want it. And if you want to keep it real simple, for whatever reason it is, it's primarily most of times to keep us safe. So for some reason, if you got what you said you wanted, that part of you doesn't believe that that's going to be safe. Right? So that's where people come up with the term self-sabotage and things like that. But it's not self-sabotage. It's actually trying to keep you safe. Okay. Yeah, please.
I actually want to add an example there just to help you kind of understand that more deeply. Before I met Isaac, you know, I was out gallivanting, having wonderful relationships with guys that actually didn't really matter to me. And in that, I questioned myself, like, why am I not meeting the one, right? And part of that, the reason why I didn't have that is because I was trying to protect myself from actually being committed and having them see who I really am, right? So of course, I'm going to go with people that are more ambiguous, that don't really look inside, because then I'll feel safe. So when I committed to myself and I said, you know what, I love me and I'm okay with all parts of me, but then who came along later? This guy. So when we actually have what we want, there is something we do got to face there. And it's powerful when you do, because it's something like a root paradigm that then inhibits that. So if you're not having that in your relationship where there's that love and connection, what are you afraid of there, right? Because if you can look at that fear and be with that fear, you might dissolve a lot more things than you've ever imagined.
Yeah. And so really healthy relationships are created from a place of powerful self-love. So if you're really looking at the unconscious pieces in here and you're no longer creating from them unconsciously, and you start to become aware and the lid of the jar starts to open and those things start to move and dissolve, because awareness is 50% of it. So what it is there's conscious and unconscious, right? Well, consciousness is really the only thing that exists. Unconscious is something that's separated from the infinite truth of what you really are. So if we bring consciousness, the infinite truth, to that piece that was seen in the lie as separate, it starts to move back into infinite possibilities, truth, love, peace, and joy, and all those really fucking cool things that we like to experience, right? And this shit works because what I speak from is only by experience. So I don't take a class and come and teach this shit. I take classes and I practice it. And I've taken so many classes over my life. So many things are I just don't fucking do because they're bullshit. So what I'm dropping on you now is the simplest version and the most effective way that I have seen to practice in my life. And as I practice this, just to let you know, that's why I say I'm not a fucking guru. You can call me one if you want to. I don't care. But I'm not here to be a guru. I'm not here to be I'm here to show you as my divine expression, on this three-dimensional level, as this expression of myself that I'm putting into what I teach to you today and show you today and help guide you with today. I'm putting that into practice in my life. And it's getting to a point to where I'm practicing it every second of every day. So can you imagine that, to just be able to be still, be present with yourself for a minute? And whatever thought comes up, you're aware of the thought. Whatever feeling comes up, you're aware of the feeling, because you're aware that you are the one that is aware. The consciousness is aware of the experience. Yeah. So can you imagine being that every second of every day? So that's my practice. So instead of being that for 20 minutes once a month, I've practiced to be that for more than 20 minutes a day, and then more than 2 hours a day. And so it's working. So that's what we're here to show you today. Okay. And like I said, you don't have to understand all this shit. Just open up, let it in, see what shows up. And if you're, watching the recordings, people that are live, you might want to watch the recordings again. There might be a lot of jewels and golden nuggets that get thrown out here, where if you listen to this again, you might just go, oh shit, I never heard him say that. Wow. Oh, I have a completely new understanding of something that I heard before. And this is the thing, repetition, repetition, repetition. So I'll repeat. And when we teach our classes and the schools that we've taught and the things that we do, it's really repetition. And I'll say the same thing in different ways, and then I'll say the same thing in the same ways. And with some of my one-on-one clients, I'll say the same thing in the same way over and over and over and over and over again. And they will understand it on a more complete and more completely 100 times. And I understand that because as I've been studying for 14 fucking years now, you too, that's been my life. Study, practice. And, I must be ending my thought because I'm losing my train of thought. But as I heard the same thing 10 fucking years ago, and now I heard that same thing in a book I read 10 years ago. And I read this book and I haven't read it for 10 years. And I go, holy shit, this had all the answers in it for me right here. And why didn't I hear it before? Well, I did hear it, and I heard it to the level of what I was able to hear it at, right? Or what I was ready. And so repetition, movement, being present. Okay, that's it. I'm
Okay,
I'm
great.
totally done.
So we are referring to our workbook here, and I'm just showing it to you because it has a lot of nuggets. And if you want to take a look at it later, great, but I want you to be present. And I'm using it for my notes so myself can keep on track because I'm a Virgo. I need that structure. Some of you do too. And Isaac's like, oh, I'm going to free flow. And I'm like, I'm going to give you a container. I'm giving you a container.
Thank you. That does help me. I do appreciate it as much as I bitch about it.
So one of the things I want to address today, like why we can be enemies instead of allies, is notice how your body is with your partner or even with yourself, right? If you were to really be present with yourself, like, can you notice where you're constricting, where you're holding, where you feel bloated and heavy? Maybe not. Maybe this may be even the first time you actually tune into your body. I don't know.
Where do you feel tight right now?
Me, it's my second chakra.
Really?
For sure, yeah.
Really? That was tight earlier today. Now it's my right
Yeah.
shoulder, which is tight, right?
Yeah. This wants to close my throat because it's like expressing myself like, ah. However, I'm here and I'm like, wore my wonderful blue necklace to go, ah, so I can express. But this is important, right? Because when we yes.
Can be important.
Yes, it is important. When we have our body in a closed position and things are heavy, then we're not going to let any information in. So imagine if you have that closed energy or whatever you're feeling right now that's not quite open. Can you hear things well? Can you actually sit in front of your partner and hear things well? Probably not, because you're kind of waiting for the blow, right? To go, oh, and then you close back down, you don't hear anything, and they're just like, wah, 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 wah. And they're like, did you listen to what I said? And you're like, I don't even know what just happened. I went somewhere else, right? So begin to notice how your body is when you're speaking with your partner. Because if you are hearing what they say and you all of a sudden close, that is a wonderful indication that you're no longer being present to what is in front of you, right? You're going internal with your own ideas about what you think and believe to be true about yourself and the relationship and your partner. And now these smoke screens come up and it's informing you of the evidence of you about yourself, right? It's like, I'm the one who doesn't get the attention. I'm the one who's rejected. I'm the one who's abandoned. And so when we then close our hearts, that's what's operating rather than opening our hearts, being free and willing to create a new possibility in the relationship with an open heart, right? So number one, really being careful attention to your body, and because it's really informing you of so much, and it's okay to take care of yourself and emotionally regulate and excuse yourself until you're ready to connect with your partner again.
Mm-hmm. And to simplify things even further, whether or not you understand energy systems or what the chakras are, and I mean, I I took a 3-year school in that, and I've realized that I don't fucking know anything. And there's 7 chakras. Okay. And so those are the main energy systems in the body. And I've experienced those and I understand to an extent what those may be. But who knows how many energy systems? Like we might have infinite energy systems in our body, but the 7. Okay. So there's something called the heart chakra. Okay. And you don't even have to look at it as energy systems. There's just the heart. Everyone kind of knows that and kind of understands what the heart is. So when you're like, let's say my partner comes home and I did something nice in the house, and she comes home and then she doesn't notice something I've done that's nice, and she asks me to do something else right away. All right. Okay. Well, shit. All right. Okay. Whatever that is. Right. Or let's say, let's give another example. Let's say I say something that could have been said with more love. I say something like kind of harsh with a poke on it. All right. You get sensitive to that shit, right? You
Yes.
don't like when I kind of poke you with words, right? Yeah, I don't like to do that either. Please forgive me for all this. I was not aware of what I was doing. So whatever it is, or we can call it a trigger. Okay. Do you feel when that happens, do you feel the tightness? Like, shit. And it kind of closes up and your kind of neck might get tight, or you might get a little warm and flustered, or your jaw gets tight, or your stomach kind of pinches and tightens up. I just
cracked his
I just
neck.
cracked my neck. Yeah. So you just bring an awareness to shit. I guess I was holding on to something. Let me open up a little bit. So that's the closing, right? And then, you guys know what it's like when you have those days where you just are free and like just everything makes sense. And you're like, oh man, I'm okay where I'm at. I'm grateful. And you have this people call it, they feel happy, right? But really there's this life force flowing through you, and there's this life force, and it's what you're made of, which is love and joy and peace. And that shows up in very preferred sensations in the body, very light and fluffy and tickly and tingly sensations. Well, that's the opening of the heart. So can you guys kind of see the difference where the closing or the opening? And really just my job is throughout the day, for me, my personality's job, my personal mind, my ego, my small self, whatever you want to call it, is just to give permission, really. Because other than that, it has very little fucking say in what's happening. Believe it or not, you don't have to take my word for it. It's just to give permission to say, oh, okay, I see the heart's closed. I'm willing to let it open and see what happens, right? And the more I do that, guess what? The more I experience the truth of what I am, the infinite truth of what I am: love, joy, peace, connection, union, wonder, bliss. Really cool shit. Okay.
What's awesome about that is, creating this and having the lead up to this webinar yesterday, of course, I'll be a little stressed out, and Isaac will be a little in his own stress. And so we got an argument, right? And in this argument, we're both saying the same things, but you're like, you don't hear me, you don't hear me, you don't hear me. And I just noticed, I'm like, oh, I'm totally closing my heart, and I'm just defending the shit out of what I think is. And basically, I'm like, no, I don't need to do this. And he's really opening up and being vulnerable. And as much as I wanted the crazy dragons to come out, I just said, you know what, I'm sorry. And I appreciate you, and I hear you, and thank you for sharing your vulnerability for me. And I just had to breathe and open, because it just wanted to close and attack. So that's a really good practice, especially in the moment, because it's not easy, right? To just go, oh, look, there I go. Like I can feel all of my energy systems alert and ready to strangle him. And that's partly because I was stressed out and tired. So the next piece we wanted to share is just being present and aware, right? Like, what is going on in your life right now? Like the situational stuff that's occurring, right? If we are not aware of what each other is going through, right, then we are more apt to have this expectation or pin something on our partner because they're not doing XYZ, right? So we want to come to a place where we're like really seeing, like cultivating this mindfulness of like, where am I in myself? Like, what am I experiencing? What have I been doing? Have I even been taking care of myself? Did I eat? What did I do for me today that then will help me be more present and aware for another? Because maybe I'm depleting myself, right? So then that depletion, I'm going to try to get something from him. I need something from him. And then he's going to feel that tug and pull. And he's like, whoa, no, 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 no. And I'm then going to start to argue and then manipulate. Because guess what? I know myself now. I see the different things that I've been doing. There's still obviously those that are hidden to me, but man, I'm like, oh, that's that part of me. That's that part of me. That's that. So it's like acknowledging and being aware of that, cultivating that mindfulness, and allowing ourselves to then release the attachments of what we know and believe to be true, begin to listen, right? Respond, don't react. You can tell when you're reacting because it's like interrupting. It's like you're in a place where you're closing down your heart. And then instead be like, oh, this is so awesome. We get to work through this. Like this is something that we both have triggers on. This is something that I'm tender to and he's tender to. Like what's coming up for me? And then we can be in gratitude about the situation, right? It's not always easy when they're like, meh, 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 and their face is like they're going to kill you too.
Keep saying
However,
easy.
yeah,
We need to work on that thought and belief right
know.
there. Are
Well,
you 100% sure that anything could be easy or hard?
no.
Okay,
Okay.
there you go.
Well,
Where'd you get
it
that shit
is
from?
what it
Who's
is.
that belong to? How is that for you?
I think I learned it a long time ago for sure.
All right. Are you willing to let go of that?
Yes.
That maybe not true at all?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Okay.
There you go. I love you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Practice forgiveness and continual self-reflection, because we got to do that for ourselves, right? Like,
That sounds
yeah.
that sounds hard.
Not
Continual self-reflection, Candace. So basically what you're saying on this is the presence and awareness is basically there's the consciousness, which is the infinite truth, which is what you are. So knowing that, remembering that, right? And then being aware of the unconscious pieces that are speaking. And it might seem like I'm giving her a hard time or I'm correcting her. There's no fucking way I'm doing that. She cannot be fixed. Sounded funny. You cannot be fixed. There's no fuck. She is not here to be fixed. There's nothing wrong with her. Okay. I realized that a while ago. It's like, holy shit, I keep trying to fix her. Who am I really trying to fix? Who do I think there's something wrong with? Yeah, fuck that, right? So you're not wrong. She's not wrong. We're not wrong. There's nothing wrong. We just learned some bullshit down the way. Okay. And we bought it and we made decisions from it. And then we lived our life from it unconsciously. So presence and awareness in the continual reflections, right, is taking the consciousness and bringing it to the unconscious, just being curious and seeing, oh, is there something there that maybe I learned that's maybe bullshit, that it may be in a whole nother dimension of truth that may not be true at all. Because a lot of things might be half true, but they're still half shit, right? So that's kind of what we're talking about. And it's not as hard as it may sound or as easy as it may sound. It's actually quite fucking simple. It's just the mind likes to complicate things. Right?
And are you willing to actually do it in the moment? Because sometimes we aren't perfect. We want to argue. We want to.
Sometimes I just want to be pissed off, and that's okay too. And at least I can be honest with myself now about that instead of projecting it out on her and trying to pretend like she's fucking has a magical remote button that can go beep, 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 beep. You're going to be angry. Now you're going to be sad. And now you're going to be angry again. She doesn't do that shit. That if it wasn't here inside my inner reality, held mostly in unconsciousness coming up to be seen, then it wouldn't be there to begin with. I wouldn't be fucking angry. So it's like, oh, thanks, babe. And today I don't want to fucking look at my shit. I want to go be angry. So I love you. Fuck off. And then I'll go love myself for a minute and breathe and relax and see what's there. I got a great example of that. So And it may sound harsh the way I talk. If you're primarily just listening to the words, you might miss the point. You can hear the intention in it. If you really just sit and hear the intention with it, I'm really coming in a place of like authenticity and openness and love and respect. Okay. And this was great because I think this was only like 2 or 3 months ago. We were doing something, and I don't even recall at the moment because that's not important to the story, but there was some bullshit. And, I was going to start justifying my bullshit, and she started to justify her bullshit. And I said, wait a second, don't say this to your fucking partners. Okay. Just don't say this. I said it. I was thinking it, and I actually said it out loud, where I was like, wait a second, you don't exist. And I sat down. Now, what I meant by that was, if it's my universe and it's my world and everything is a reflection of me and the things I think I know and believe to be true, most of which are unconscious, covering up feelings that I haven't felt yet, right? Then let's just take her out of the equation for a second. So if she doesn't exist, what's reflecting back to me? So I sat down and I noticed couple thoughts, she doesn't listen. She's not there for me. She's not going to understand, whatever it was. Okay. Those are the thoughts. Okay, great. And I asked some questions. I go, well, how is this for me? This is a reflection showing me something. How is this for me? And then it's like, ooh, I feel angry. Not I am angry. I feel angry. And I sat there. I just felt that in presence. I felt that sensation, that tickly feeling in the body where that anger comes and you get hot and the tightness up here. And it's like, okay, that's a sensation in the body showing up. I feel angry. Let go of the thoughts. Just felt the feeling. And then it dissolved. I got up and she went to kind of say, honey, but to apologize. I said, no, that's not even necessary. I was like, that's not necessary. That has nothing to do with you. That was for me. And I sat down and I looked at my thing. So that for me, that was one moment where I took just full responsibility for my own reflection, by saying my wife didn't exist. But don't say that unless you know, like, truthfully, like, of course she exists, but she doesn't exist at the same time. It's my inner reality and my responsibility. Okay.
Awesome. And, I wanted to share this. One of our mentors shared it with us. Do you want to read it out loud real quick?
Oh, this is one of my favorite new quotes. This is just I got this shit memorized. This shit is just memorized. Either you're speaking from your infinite truth, or you're speaking from your pain and programming. Say it. Boom. Fucking class over. Have fun. Just take that with you for the rest of your life, and then pay attention to everything you say. Is that my infinite truth? Or is that my pain and programming that's coming up? Because that's the thing. When I started paying more attention to what I was saying, my pain and programming is coming up because it's distorted from the infinite truth of what I really am. So it wants to come up to be seen, to be reknown, to be purged, to be let go of. Because it's in a holding pattern, continuously reflecting. My energy just flows up and down. It just moves. And somewhere in life, something happened where I didn't like that feeling. All right. And I'm a kid. So maybe I felt really scared in that moment. I felt fear, dread and terror. And I didn't know how to handle it at that time. So I made a decision. Oh, this isn't okay. And I'm not safe in this decision. Right. And so that held into my body. The feeling held in there. And then the thought got piled on top of it. And then I started to believe that. So then I got more reflections of it. So I got to create 10,000 reflections over the course of my life. Right. And I don't know why I'm telling him that right now. See, I told you, I just go into shit. I'm trying to drop the truckload on you. But the thing is, that was something that got held onto that in actuality could have just moved through my system. Oh, here's a feeling and I feel fear. Okay. And there's a thought about it. Okay, great. And now it's no longer in my energy field. The amount of things that we've let go of, that we've experienced, that we didn't hold on to, I would say it's quite possible is infinitely greater than the things we have held on to. The thing is, we just have a way of suppressing our bullshit. Even with a lot of the spiritual work that I've done, a lot of the spiritual stuff keeps us in a loop of bullshit. So we get to re-experience the trauma over and over again without fully letting it go and dissolving it. So it just wants to move through the field. Okay. So when you're noticing the pain and programming as you're speaking it, as you're speaking, you say these things, you're like, oh, why did I say that? Or I didn't mean that. I meant this. Well, no, just pay attention to it. Okay, just pay attention. I'll give you an example. I had a client a minute ago, and he might actually watch this replay. So this is going to be fucking funny. I love you. So I was just asking questions, and there was something about sadness. They weren't able to feel the sadness. The sadness would come up and they say it would go, well, okay, so why do you want to hold on to the sadness then? Well, I get, it's like a pathetic thing. It's like, I get sympathy. Like when I'm sad, people feel sorry for me. And then, it's a pathetic thing. Okay, so why do you want to be pathetic? What do you get for people feeling sorry for you? And then they tried to go, oh, no, I didn't mean that. No, you said it came up. You're not wrong. Don't try to work it out. It's okay. That's the distortion. And they're like, okay, well, when I'm sympathy, then I get attention. Okay, so maybe when you're 5 years old and your dad was completely ignoring you for your entire life, and you go in the garage and you try to help him and they tell you to fuck off because you're making life more complicated for him, and all you're trying to do is spend some energy and time. And it's like, oh, okay, so maybe if I create something like when we used to get sick, and then what happens? They wrap you up and they give you tea and are you poor baby, or you hurt your, oh, okay, so now when people feel sorry for me, at least I get attention. So like he started to see that this belief of, I can't get attention in the true way that I really need it, which is just love and compassion. Okay. So if I have this way of being sad and people feeling sorry for me, then they actually give me the attention that I need. Otherwise, I can't get it. Now that was bullshit. And now he's curious about that. And as he watches this, he might even kind of see it differently. And he might be even a little bit more curious about it. And if you notice that, buddy, take a deep breath. And if you feel that sadness, let that sadness be there and just let it move. And that thought and belief will go with it. Okay. So these are the aspects of either you're speaking from your infinite truth or you're speaking from your pain and programming. And you're not wrong. And as you can tell from the story I just said, of course they learned that. They were in the household with people that learned certain things too, in the households that they were raised in the family dynamic. So he's not wrong. Like, how can a child be wrong for learning those things? They just learned something that wasn't true. They learned something that was separate from them. Okay. So now you have an opportunity, maybe feel a little sadness, maybe dissolve it for good.
Thank you.
I went off on that one. I really love that.
It's a good one.
That saying, I really do.
And
I should have used that last night.
We can actually use it in so many areas of our lives, right? So really take that one in, put it in your pocket, bust it out when you need it. Yep,
it's there for you. I'm gonna use the restroom because we're hanging out.
And I'm gonna go with the next point that we wanted to mention today. And as Isaac was saying, well, of course, we grew up with these things. If you look at the systems that are placed in our life, we begin to see like, whoa, like we are like shrouded by systems. Right now, I'm studying to be a marriage and family therapist. I'm in my master's degree. And upon reading this, I'm like, oh my God, this is such good shit, because I never even recognize that. It's not in my vocabulary. It's not something I really look into, but now it's actually more present around the world more than ever, that we are living under these different systems, right? And within these systems is how we interact with one another. And we think that the other person, namely our partner, is the same. They are not, right? Because we have our racial identity to take a look at. Like this is a category we fall into when We like perceive others, like that person's white, that person's Filipino, that person's Asian. That's the racial identity. Then we have ethnicity. So these groups of our ancestors that we belong to, you know, some of us are all mixed races, right? So imagine all those different people and ancestries coming together to formulate you. That's not like me, right? So we're having a whole different thought and idea about ourselves just through ethnicity, right? Then we have our cultural identity, like the traditions we have, the religions we express through, or the spirituality we have. Like these ideas and identities and traditions and holidays are not the same for everybody. It kind of feels like it because maybe you grew up with a whole bunch of people that believed in Christmas, right? But guess what? There's Jewish people out there. There's all kinds of people that don't believe in Christmas, right? So we want to look at even our generational identity. A while back ago, I dated someone that was 10 years older than me. And because of that, like my idea of who I was compared to him was completely different. But I kept trying to make him understand me. And he's like, I don't even get it. Right. Thank goodness we're like the Generation X's. So we like kind of get each other in that realm. We have that pop culture that we understand, and that freedom of without cell phones and computers in those days, right? So we understand each other there. And so when you meet someone and talk to them, you're creating these associations with these systems, right? And think about socioeconomic status. Like this is a big one. This is often measured by, you know, your social standing in class, your education, your income, your occupation. Now, this was a game changer for me when I recognized this for myself. I was studying and I was reading about poverty, and the things that I was reading about it, like I didn't know existed, right? Because I grew up in like an upper middle class neighborhood and had a Mercedes and a 5-bedroom house. However, I was in a white neighborhood. So my idea of a man or of myself is to always strive ahead, get the best grades, go to college, you know, get married, all those things, right? I'm going to work hard, right? Those are my ideas. So I'm meeting him who actually came from a more of a poverty mindset and background where they're like literally struggling to survive. And I'm like pushing on him this idea, and he's resistant because he's traumatized, right? So when it hit on me, I was like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like that's not, you don't even have that in your purview to actually, you know, do the things that I do. And I'm comparing myself to you. Like I'm a whole different animal, right? Like
She's an animal.
I am an animal. And in that, like, I can be gentle with him, because if I had a client in front of me that was coming from that background and sharing, like, it's really difficult for me to actually do this, you know, I feel like I'm going to die. Like, how would I treat him differently or that person differently? Right. So think about it. These systems that we operate within, you know, not only like this whole gender identity that we're coming across now, like we're like coming across all these systems and trying to pin on our partner that they are the same, and they are not. And what happens from that is conflict, right? Conflict, because we're now arguing about the same thing in a different way because we have the different systems we're operating from, and we're seeing it differently, but we're talking about the same damn thing, right? So when we experience conflict, of course, we're going to make someone right, and the other person must most definitely be wrong, right?
Be right.
Of course, because if I am not right, then I must be wrong, and I'm not wrong, right? So in conflict, we have that struggle. That's where we create enemies again, because we're not really listening to each other. We're just like stuffing down their throat all these systems, all these ideas and beliefs that we know and believe to be true about our way of being and being in a relationship, that then we can't even hear the other person, right? And conflict is really about true, if you can be there present with them, discovery, like, oh wow, you believe that? I didn't know you believe that. That's how I believe it this way. Oh, no wonder you're not doing it that way. That makes a lot of sense, right? then imagine, well, then maybe we can help each other out, collaborate, begin to have this notion of like, wow, we learned a lot of bullshit. Now, can we actually create our lives from this point forward in a way that supports the both of us, right? Because it's not going to be like our parents or our ancestors or the cultural way that, is existing right now. Like we are literally moving beyond that, right? Into our own truth. And only he and I can create that. That's why you are the expert in your relationship. Only you know yourself, and only you know the kind of partner you attracted and what you need to learn from that, right? We're just here to help guide you and open your eyes to see it so you can actually become like great allies, great friends, and have a really good time doing it as long as you're together, right? So beautiful way to look at conflict so that then we can actually just get to know each other.
Yeah, and just to let you know, me and Candace, I mean, like our background, our upbringing and things, like we couldn't be more different. And people say opposites attract, but honestly, like what's more true is like you end up getting the perfect energy reflection of the things you think you know and believe to be true, right? And that's just really what I understood. And so as we progress and move through this, whatever this is, I've actually found that we have far more in common than we ever did differences, right? The differences just come from the systems that we grew up under, the family dynamics, and her being a first generation Filipino and me being, a heterosexual white male. Like there's just different middle class, poor, like there's different aspects of understanding, and she's very, what's the word? Like when you're social, extroverted, right? And I'm more of an ambivert where it's like I just want to be by myself to recharge, but I like people, and that took a while to understand. So there's all this bullshit, and I actually wrote a list years ago where I was like, listen, you say we're so different, like this is the things we're different about, and look at what the things that we like are the same. There was far more, and that was like, God, I think like 8, 9, 10 years ago. So the truth is, and this is true for all of us, like everybody on this call and the strangers that you walk around with, is the truth is we're all really operating from the same basic bullshit. We just have completely different experiences and journeys, right? And different stories. But when you really come down to it, we just don't feel safe. We all just want to be loved. And we all just don't think that it's okay to be, or it's okay to be me, or it's okay to be me expressing myself. And when I feel good, bad things happen. And there's like all these commonality beliefs that like we're being asked to really look at these days. So we're all just really the same, more than we think. And so once we start letting go of the ideas or just being curious about them, once that starts, like sometimes I have to turn it off because it's like, oh my God, like how long did I believe that bullshit for and create with that? And I'll see like a series of like 20 of them. And so you'll see when you do this work, it shows up. Okay.
So back to the workbook.
Back to the workbook. Oh my God, the workbook. Oh my God.
OMG. So this next piece is misunderstanding.
Truth bomb.
Truth bombs.
I love that shit. I love truth bombs and love bombs.
Thank you. Thank you. This next piece is misunderstanding our partner's emotions. And this is really powerful because, we can wear masks, right? And pretend we're okay. Like, I'm okay. I'm okay. And it's like your partner can clearly see like you are not okay. Right. And so if we're in a place where we're like looking at our partner and just hearing the words, but not really paying attention to the body language, not really understanding if they're emotionally regulated, not really communicating what we're actually going through, we can interpret that as an attack, or that they're being mean to me, or that they're, that something's my problem again, or it's my fault. And so we then begin to assume, and this energy that exchange between us then becomes convoluted. And now we're in a place where we're totally disconnected, and then we're back into those patterns, and we're just reacting. So, think about it. We're all really brave to be alive. And in that bravery, we're really learning how to be safe and to express ourselves. And expression for most of us is not an easy thing, right? Most people I work with in the couples they don't even know how to express what they need, right? Let alone what they feel. They always say, I feel like this person is this. I'm like, is that really a feeling? Right? And they don't know how to return back to themselves. And that's why we began with being present with yourself, tuning into your body. Because if you are angry, you might not actually be angry. What actually is happening is the sadness is being protected by that anger, so you're not sharing it. Or even that fear underneath that anger is being protected, so you're not sharing that. However, if you actually acknowledged it, right, like Isaac's been talking about, it can dissolve. And so when we are like listening to our partners, it's really important to be present and not put in your ideas, right? Ask if they want support first and foremost, but most of the time we just want to be listened to, most of the time. And that's important because, like, if I am already defending, justifying, I have been missing the point of what he's saying, and I'm misreading what he's
yeah,
actually
if you're
doing.
defending and justifying, what are you operating from, your true self or your small self? Do you
Pain and
think it's
program.
most possible? Which, yeah, it's
Yeah.
possibly the small self, right? So that's something fun. Whenever you're feeling the need to justify or defend, hey, that's just for me a red flag right off the bat. Oh fuck, I feel the need to justify or defend myself right now. So am I operating from my true self or my small self? I mean, that's just honesty. And then it's like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm gonna give my small self reign right now, dude. And fuck this, fuck that. Don't fuck with me. Fuck off. What I don't know what I do and justify or defend anymore these days. Most of the time I just shut the fuck up and go breathe and just relax into it, right? But a lot of times, sometimes I don't. So anyways, workbook. Moving on. She loves this workbook. So what are we doing? What's this next one?
Well, this is primarily like the main piece of this whole piece that is the song.
Cool.
It's just taking responsibility for yourself, right?
So what does responsibility really mean? Like the root word of it?
The ability to respond.
Oh, wow. So you mean it's not like an obligation or
No.
commitment? It's not like a dirty word. So responsibility actually in the root essence of what it means is when I take responsibility for something, I'm giving myself the ability to respond. So if I take responsibility for all these reflections that I don't prefer, then I have the ability to respond, meaning I can actually change that. Well, that's powerful. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. I didn't realize that. And, as I'm obviously, have a great sense of humor here. I just actually understood that in a more complete way. It happens. I just listen to myself talk. I'm like, I've said that 1,000 times. Oh shit, I just understood that more completely.
Do you want to care to explain?
No, I'm reading the workbook. Okay. Self-awareness.
So responsibility for yourself. It is not that dirty word. Ability to respond. Think about, like, we have free will, and that free will gives us the power to choose. And if we're choosing from that place of that infinite self, then what are we going to get from that? More of that, right? We're going to get so much more of that infinite possibility that we're going to be like, whoa, this is amazing. Whereas if we choose from what we've known before in that pain, fear, and suffering, what are we going to get? More pain, fear, and suffering, right? And somehow we keep doing that, right? Especially in our partnerships, because it's hard and we can't communicate and they don't understand me and I don't understand them. And ultimately, your relationship will change when you begin to work on yourself, because how you're responding to the situation will be from that truth, from that presence. And trust me, when I'm there, like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to love, right?
I have a story.
Tell your story.
That. So basically, a lot of times too, when you take that responsibility, it actually benefits the person you're with, your intimate relationships, and everybody else that you come in contact with. That's just more true. The story I have and the experience I have with that is 10 years ago, Candace was doing this energy healing school, this thing called Sacred Path Healing School. It's a 3-year school. And at that time I was kind of like, energy healing, like, what are you talking about? I kind of poo-pooed it. And now it's just a side note, I just do all kinds of weird shit now. I don't fucking care like who understands it or not, because I could see the benefit of it. But back then I was like, whatever, I'm not taking that school. So her second year in, she was finishing up her second year, and I just noticed, like, all of a sudden I was like, babe, I remember she was standing in the kitchen. I was like, all that shit you used to fuck with me about. She would ride my ass like the first couple of years of me being over here on the island. Yeah. And that, whatever, what I'm saying? That's just part of the story. I was like, you don't mess with me about that stuff anymore. I just kind of realized that like my life had gotten more simple and more relaxed, and I felt more safe. And she goes, oh yeah. She goes, that was a lot of the stuff with my dad. So I actually worked on a lot of my dad's stuff, and I dissolved it and let that go. And it had nothing to do with you. And she's like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, that had nothing to do with you. I was like, what the? And I said, I'm going to that school, because it completely changed. Like, I didn't know how much longer I could take of that, right? Like both of us, right? And so all of a sudden it just changed. And I was like, oh, she was doing the work in here, which changed the relationship, which also helped change my life. And I was inspired to go to the school, which then inspired me for the next 10 years to completely dedicate myself to what I'm teaching you today, all this cool spiritual growth stuff, right? Boom, responsibility, ability to respond. You do that, it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody else around you. So the relationship that you truly want, you focus in here, whether your partner's showing up or whatever they're doing, you focus in here, it will change the reflection of your reality, of the universe, which is you. You are your universe. You are here. You are the center of your experience. Okay. Workbook.
Last one. Trauma.
Really? Last one already?
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
Crazy. We're actually doing really good on
Trauma.
I'm so excited.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So think about it. So another thing that keeps us from being allies is our own trauma. And we don't even know sometimes what trauma is. Like, it's like, what is trauma? It's not just, you've been exposed to something. It's like something you saw as a young person and you knew it wasn't right. And then it triggered your nervous system, your emotions, and now it's stored in your body. So we're like this big energy that just has all these holes in it from these traumas, right? So I love energy healing because it's like plugging up the holes, recalibrating everything, and then you react less, right? Isaac has a beautiful way to express how to begin to tune into this, so that then when you're interacting with your partner, you don't project it, you don't suppress it, you actually can transmute it in ways that then it doesn't really ever come back, because you finally were with it. So
which is that? What's the way?
Suppress, channel, and transmute.
Oh, well, I need the workbook.
Okay.
I'm lost without my workbook. Did I scare you? Did I traumatize you? I'm so sorry. He's like trying to relax. So he's moving some energy right now. That's cool. The workbook, it's so cool. See, it's all right here. You guys need to download this stuff. It's all right there. So cool. She puts all the stuff together. Like, she just amazes me. Suppression, channeling. So we want to talk about this around like trauma, like complex trauma, like the things that are there that are very uncomfortable when they come up, right? So it's back to what I said, where we have this life force energy, it's flowing constantly. There was things in our life experiences, because most things like are like trees down the side of the road, the white lines on the side of the road, like you're driving down, like you notice they're there, you're experiencing them, but they come and they go. Cars on the freeway, oh, there's a car and there it goes. Okay, so you letting go of some stuff, huh? Kai's releasing all of his stuff right now. You feel him?
Yeah.
He's like,
we have a traumatized doggy.
No, he's not traumatized
from his past.
He's dissolving.
He's dissolving.
He's dissolving whatever traumas there are. So all it is something happened that focused our attention on, and we held on to it. We made a decision about it. There was some feeling that we really didn't like. Yeah, you moving that? Here, come sit here. And here's something that might blow your fucking mind. So what if there really is no such thing as traumas? Now, I'm not going to say there are no such thing as traumas, because I've had experiences where something has come up and it's very uncomfortable, and it sure fucking feels like a trauma. But what if what we think about traumas, there might be a different way to look at it. So what if there's something that happens in life that triggers your life force energy, what you truly are, your infinite truth, the eternal being of infinite possibilities, unconditional love, truth, joy, peace, compassion, that part of you where if you don't believe that that's actually who you are, like even like you can think it's 99% bullshit, but if you don't have 1% possibility, like, yeah, maybe I am actually an eternal being of infinite possibilities, only knowing myself in love, joy, and peace. Maybe there's a part of me that's never forgotten that, right? If you don't believe that's 1% possible, you know, what the fuck are you doing here, right? Like you wouldn't be on you wouldn't stay on here that long, right? So chances are, if you're on here, you believe that that's a little possible. So maybe something happens in life and it triggers that life force energy. My life force energy just starts flowing through me. And these little pieces, these traumas that I've held on to in life that have been suppressed and in my unconsciousness, they start to come up to the surface. They get pushed up to the surface to be seen. It's kind of like if your body's sick or it has a poison in it or a virus or something, it's going to purge it. Well, the emotional body and the mental body do the same fucking thing. There's some things there that are separate from the truth. It is a distorted energy. So maybe your life force energy starts to flow and it pushes these energies that have been in holding patterns, waiting to be seen, acknowledged in truth to the surface so you can feel it. And if it's stored with pain, it comes up with pain. If it's stored with sadness, it comes up with sadness. If it's stored with fear, it comes up with fear. And that shit can be really uncomfortable. There's probably a reason it was so uncomfortable when I was a kid. I didn't know what to do with it. I probably started thinking this hurts so bad, I'm going to fucking die. So I probably started to make decisions on how to fucking compress it and push it back down so I could like manage it, right? So maybe it's this whole time in my life, things trigger my life force energy. It pushes these little pieces up. So then I can see it. I can sit with it. I can relax into it. I can let it complete its natural course and dissolve. And once it completes its natural course, it's not in a holding pattern anymore. It's done. As I am light and expansion, there's nothing that's stuck in me. There's things that I've just unconsciously held on to that I've seen as separate from myself. So maybe I'm not really getting triggered or traumatized. Maybe my life force energy starts to flow through me. Maybe more of who I am flows through me, pushing the bullshit up out of the way. So then I can dissolve that back into the infinite possibilities, love, peace, and joy. So I can experience more of what I truly am. Possible, right? Okay, maybe, I don't know. Works for me. Play around with it, practice it, see what's there. So there's the three things that we do here as those traumas are moving through the system to be seen and reknown. We suppress them, right? So we push the energy back down. That one's what I see is very common. So I don't like this. Something's wrong. And like with the fear comes up in my body, right? It's like, I don't like this. And sometimes I'll do that for 2 or 3 hours and I'll try to watch TV or play video games or something. I don't like this. Oh, something's wrong. It's like, oh, wait a second. Let's go sit and breathe for about 10 minutes. Moves through the system. And I feel a little more relaxed. Then I might get wiped out. I might go to bed early, right? But the next day I'll wake up and, oh, hey, I'm free. It moved. So suppression. Okay. Something comes up, we push it back down. Okay. If you're really honest with yourself, you might notice you probably do that daily. Okay. So the next is channeling. So channeling, when energy comes up, is so uncomfortable. We have to get it out of our system somehow. So we're going to channel it some way. And one way we do that is like we call somebody, we start talking to somebody, we just like blah, 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 start like reinforcing all the bullshit, trying to get it out, or anger. Like when I start attacking and we're like the argument or the conflict, it's like, you do this, yeah, blah, blah, you always, you never. we get into all that cool stuff. Like in all the classes we've taught, we get into all this cool shit. Like we pick this apart. So don't worry about like me going over it quickly. However, the channeling, like it's pay attention. Like when you're calling somebody and you're venting, like, are you venting because it feels in the moment like a release, because you are channeling and you're moving it out, right? But really what you're doing is you're speaking unconsciousness back into your energy field, into the quantum field. So then eventually it just comes back, right? It just, oh, I feel better for a minute, but now it's back here. Okay. So cool. We got still new people coming in. I love it. Awesome. So the channeling of that, right? Whereas actually you suppress or you channel. So you try to push it out just to expel the energy. The third one is transmutation. Okay. So that's the one that I like to practice. I notice when I'm doing the other ones. And if it's a day where I want to choose to transmute it, I'll sit, I'll just breathe for a minute. I'll acknowledge a thought and I'll be aware that I'm the one that is aware of the thought. I won't try to follow the thought, and I'll try to get into the feeling, which a lot of times will just show up as sensations in the body. So just sit and breathe and notice sensations in the body and relax and let the energy move. And what you're doing is the energy is flowing through as it's pushing those traumas up to the surface to be re-seen. We're not attaching to them. We're not trying to make it mean anything. We're just letting the energy flow through the body. Remember, we talked about just the closing and opening of the heart in the first part of this class. That's part of that, right? So that might make a little more sense into that. So as your mind has nothing to do with that process other than getting your mind out of the way. So don't try not to think. Just be aware that you're the consciousness behind the thought. Okay. And you're the consciousness behind the feeling, experiencing it all, and just let it move through you. Okay. So suppression, channeling, transmutation. Transmutation is actually taking what we thought is separate and the lower frequencies of anger, fear, and sadness, and we actually transmute them back into love, peace, and joy. So then we're remembering the dismembered pieces of ourselves, the pieces that we separated from the infinite truth, we dismembered them. So then we remember. So as we remember who we are, we're remembering, putting all the little pieces of love, peace, and joy together. So we can experience it in this three-dimensional expression, divine expression of ourselves. Because there's a part of us that is not separate at all. And is sitting here understanding that, watching the whole thing, this part of me, this divine expression of Isaac and this personality and this fun little messy world of what is whatever the fuck this is, which I have literally 0.00001% chance understanding of what's really happening. This actually gets to experience more of the infinite truth in this three-dimensional. And this shit works. And I'm telling you, my life is fucking fun as fuck. I am having a blast these days and I'm loving my life. And this shit I'm doing right now is super fun. Woo, woo, woo. And my relationship keeps getting more amazing. And like now that we've worked through the triggers and the traumas of the energy reflection that she was gifting me with, so I could see the unconscious and bring it up and give it love, so I can take the dismembered pieces and bring it back and remember. Now I'm experiencing more of who I am. Now she's even showing up as even like a greater energy reflection in things that I prefer instead of the ways I don't prefer, right? That's what's really fun. It's like, damn, you've been the perfect energy reflection all along in every way, right? Always. You're so cool. So let's breathe in that for a minute, because like I guess I really needed to say that because there's something that's just opening up with that one. That's a love bomb. So we've had truth bombs. I hit some truth bombs on there. That one is a love bomb. So you can just feel into that one. So I guess I've been wanting to say that to you for a while. I love you.
I love you.
Yeah. Okay. So workbook.
Workbook. Ultimately, that's the end of it. Like we have dropped a lot of truth bombs, love bombs, take what you will from it, listen back to everything. And the thing is this information is already out there. They might not be sharing it in the way that we're sharing it, but there's a lot of other relationship coaches, therapists, counselors sharing this stuff. And we're finally starting to hear it more and more and more. The thing is if you leave it here and you don't actually practice it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Oh man, truth.
It's not. And, we have an immediate practice right here in the living room, right? Our relationships. So the thing is we have an 8-week course coming up, starting in October 18th. And we want to give you a place to practice, to question things, to be curious, and really understand what is going on in your relationship that you might not be seeing, right? And the thing is when you're, practicing on your own, you kind of do it a little bit. I've done that. However, when you're a part of a community and a group of people that are doing it, and then you can go like, oh, they're experiencing the same thing. I'm just like the husband and you're just like the wife. Oh shit. It makes things a lot less hard and a struggle. And we begin to see like, oh my gosh, a lot of other people are going through this too. And you don't have to be in a couple to do this course, right? We're calling it the relationship reset because we can reset from what we've known and believed to be true and come to a place in our lives where we're consciously creating together what we prefer now and forevermore, right? And in that, we're going to be able to work on the stages and phases that you might be on. We're going to look at how you talk to each other and if you can really express those needs and feelings, and where you are still defending and justifying yourself, right? And where you're holding in and suppressing this energy and then lashing out on your partner to just release it. Like I've known a lot of people that shut down, and then it's like all of it's coming out at once. And you're like, holy shit, why didn't you tell me this before? Right? So we're going to work through all of these things in our 8-week relationship reset course. And guess what? We've got it for a really affordable price. We want to support you in being a part of our course. And it literally is $99 a month for 10 months. That's it. And you can add your partner on for just a couple $100 more. So it's very affordable. It's a place where you can feel safe to talk about these things, where we can maybe help you and your partner get back on track to where you guys really want to be, because you fell in love for a reason, right? And if you're not in a relationship and you're wanting to, find that one, this is a great course to help you get into that mind of where you want to be, right? So we've got this relationship reset course coming up. I'm going to have Michelle drop the link in the chat so that I don't have to fumble around for it. Michelle has been a pivotal piece in what we've been creating here, and as a business manager and helping us put out this social media and everything. I just want to say thank you for being that for us and being here on the webinar today. We appreciate you so much.
And I just want to say, the whole reason that we've been doing this class and we put this class together and we're offering it to you now is if you liked anything I said and you're like, shit, I'd like to actually hear him say that again, and I'd like to hear him expand on that. Well, that's why we have 8 weeks. So we have 8 weeks of basically what we did right now, because I don't hold anything back. So when I show up, I don't care if it's free or if it's paid for. It doesn't fucking matter, dude. I'm showing up in my expression, in my love, and I'm going to share this with you. And I'm going to do the same for relatively inexpensive. If someone was working with us, with me and Candace, doing Zoom sessions for an hour and a half for 8 weeks, that's close to $5,000 upwards. It could be that much, right? So like what we're doing here for $990 for $99 a month, that's our way of getting this information out to more people. So what I really want to make clear is, if you're unsure, if you're like, I don't know about this guy, he cusses too much. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can stand that shit. I kind of like him though, but maybe, I don't know. I kind of dig it. But then I've been through these classes before and people turn out to be full of shit or blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it. I've been there. I've spent over 100 grand on classes, and most of them I took something away from. Some of them not that great. Other ones blew my fucking mind. Not many of those. This is that class as far as I'm concerned, because all the mind-blowing stuff is what I bring into my classes. So if you feel like you want to limit the risk, what we do offer is for the first 4 weeks. So say you take the class starting on October 18th. Okay.
Yes.
And don't worry, I'll make this quick shit, this sales shit. Like it doesn't really matter. Either you show up or you don't, right? It's okay. Like this energy is here and it's for you. $99 for the first 4 weeks. So you show up October 18th. If you, for some reason, are taking, and if you've been this, if you've been on this long, you're probably not going to do this. But if you want to, I don't care. If for some reason you're like, this is not for me, and you took 4 weeks, so you took 50% of the class for that $99 for the first month, and you don't want to continue and pay the other $99 a month for the next 9 months, cancel. Shoot us an email. Be like, hey, think you guys are kind of cool, but I'm out of here. Bye. Or, hey, fuck off, Isaac. I don't care. Whatever. We won't charge anything else. It's $99. So the risk is extremely limited. I mean, I wish I had that when I bought $5,000 courses. You know what I mean? Which I've done. I'm sure many of you have too. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. And it's probably one of the best classes I've ever taken, let alone taught. So show up, don't show up. Did you want to add anything else?
I do. One of the things that I've noticed about some courses that I did purchase that I was like, I gotta leave, right? Like the reason why we're offering this guarantee is because we know how good it is. It's really been what we've been practicing, truly.
Right.
And it's how we've been delivering it to our clients, those that are really having these marital issues or relationship conflicts that they can't get past, that keep coming up over and over and over again, right? The moment that I share the things that we're going to teach you in this course, it like opens them up and they really start projecting on their partner that they're the blame, right? And that they stop they stop projecting on their partners and blaming them for whatever that they're experiencing, because they finally are taking that responsibility and they realize where they're contributing to the matter in a way that says, wow, I don't ever want to operate from that ever again. And so I see these relationships change and I'm like, well, there's something to it. Like if it's happening in mine and I'm having better sex and I'm having more freedom and like a lot more abundance and connection and intimacy, like why would I not want to share that?
Basically, this shit works. This shit works. Okay. I've done 3 years at one school, 4 years at another school, multiple classes in between, tens of thousands of dollars, classes, study for the last 14 years. This shit is the number one thing that I found that really works. And it's not just for your it's all relationships. And it's like anything that you've been having issues with inside of your life that you notice, why does this keep fucking showing up? I've worked on this. You know, you like that saying? I used to say it all the time. I've worked on this. I've healed this. Why does it keep showing up? Well, there's something there in the mind that we are still tracking through the mind. The mind doesn't do the healing. Presence does the healing. Okay. Presence does the dissolving. And so there's just certain aspects of things that people haven't fully become aware of yet. And once we became aware of it, we realized this shit really works, man. We got to share this with other people. So this works.
Yeah.
That's it.
And also if you have a partner that's like, oh, I bet they won't attend. Remember, it's not about them, right? It's about you. When you work on yourself, that already begins to shift and change your relationship. So, you know, we invite you to join us. And
we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have so much fun. We're really excited.
Fun.
Thank you. We do want to open it up now to any questions and that you might have. I know, Christopher, you said, is it what did you say? Lost it.
What, are you looking for something?
I deleted it.
Okay, got it.
He has the answer now.
You've been deleted, dude. I've given you the answer.
I do have another question though.
Sure, go ahead.
Isaac, you mentioned that if I'm feeling the need to defend or explain, then I'm reacting. Basically, I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
I know one of the things that comes up in my relationships is that my partner might make an observation of something that I've done and might say, oh, well, you said this or you did that. And maybe might add to that, and I feel affected in this way because of that. And if that gets repeated a couple times, then the alarm bells start going off in my reactivity, and I start saying, oh shit, I'm being criticized, and that's something I'm sensitive to. Just correcting them or even commenting on it because I'm being reactive would be self-justifying. So I'm just wondering what's an aligned response? Like silence? Just
well, it's just
quote
awareness.
unquote taking it. Like I'm not sure what to do when I'm triggered in that moment, and hearing these not technically criticisms, but things that I'm hearing that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I'm hearing is basically like you're aware of that, and you're aware of like the justification, and then you kind of notice the parts, and you don't give into it, but now you're like, well, what do I do? What's the correct response? Like, how do I be in my infinite truth in that moment is kind of what I'm hearing you say, and not operate from my ego. How do I be in my truth?
I'd like to stay out of reactivity.
Is that what I'm hearing though? It's like, how do I be in my infinite truth and not be in reactivity? How do I respond?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So like, that's the question in itself, right? Like, how do I be in my infinite truth? That's a mental aspect of something that has nothing to do with your mind. And I can like get real mental about it, but like, I want to keep that real simple. Like if you listen to this recording and then just listen to like what was just said, it's like, to be in the infinite truth, there is nothing we have to do. There's only to be in that, and to notice when we are or are not. And then breathe into it. No worries. And if you talk from some reactive shit, pay attention to it, because maybe that wants to be seen. Maybe like my reactive shit when I'm behaving badly, I kind of go, hey, babe, can I just kind of like talk unconscious for a minute? Like, let this stuff come up. And she'll go, sure. And I'll say, blah, 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 blah. And I'll just, whatever comes up, I'm not trying to edit it. I'm just allowing it to move through my system. Now, depending on I know you and your relationship with who you're with, you guys can do this. Not everyone can do this, because some weird shit comes up like out of the mouth when it's talking unconscious. But I'm paying attention to it. And one day I just heard myself say something like, I'm not safe. Well, yeah, I realized that. But this time I really saw the belief that it was attached to. And then it just started to melt away and just started to dissolve. And then my entire life changed after that. Right. So it's okay to react. Just be aware you're doing it. That's all. And it's not about not wanting to. Maybe it needs to be there. Like, you're not doing anything wrong. Right. You've never been wrong, buddy. You're not wrong. We love you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And Michelle is asking, what if a relationship isn't troubled? How can this workshop help? I love that. Because ultimately,
I just don't believe that shit.
It's not
just give it time. Just give it some fucking time with your fucking newlywed shit. I love it. No, you guys are great. No, I'll let Candace take this one for sure.
Yeah, well, I love it because, we still are ourselves, whether we like it or not. And even though we're behaving well in the partnership, it might not be coming in the trigger in that relationship. Like, think about your parents or your kids and where you might be getting triggered there or expressing these same things, right? Those are still intimate relationships, right? And those are the ones that then are coming up to be seen, because maybe you're not dealing with partnership things right now. And that's okay. And that's why I love this course is, we put it under the guise of relationships because there's so many relationships out there, especially couples. However, it really is the relationship you have with yourself. And if you want to work on that piece so that you can show up in the world in your experience and have like everything be something that informs you of the wonderful life you're creating, then this workshop is for you.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know if I said this in the beginning. I was really kind of excited and just like started to talk, but the whole reason I'm doing this class is me and Candace are we're both, since we met for 14 years, committed to spiritual growth and personal development. Yeah. And we've every day, every year, there's been something that we've been studying for ourselves. And fully looking in at what we need to give ourselves, not what we need to give to the other person. And the way the relationship has formed has blown my mind. It has been beyond anything, any relationship stuff I've ever learned of what a relationship is or could be. It's beyond. And so we bring that here. We bring that with us. Come ride along with us. Kona's on. That's cool. What's up, Kona? Long time no see, dude. So yeah, fun stuff, man. We're gonna be here. I mean, I plan on sticking around in the 90s to my 90s. So what is that? Another 50 years. So we'll be here another 50 years. If you don't catch this one, catch another one. I'll be doing this for a while. It's too much fun.
Thank you, replay viewers, and thank you for those who attended live with us. It's been totally a pleasure to welcome you into our home and just chill out with you on this beautiful Saturday. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you have any further questions, feel free to email us. You have our email since you've been receiving all this communication from us. We're going to be sending you emails about the course to clarify any more things that you might have. We hope you join us, and we are excited about the relationships that we are creating. Thank you so, so much. We love you. Bye.